Today I want to really talk about what A24 gets right and kind of what most filmmakers don't. And I think it's really important to know from the start what one of the main problems is indie filmmaking is, and that is marketing and distribution. And I say this as a film sales agent that works in distribution, that goes to the festivals, that goes to AFM. And I sell a lot of these films, and it's very common to see, especially for indie films, and I'm talking, when I say indie films, I mean budgets 5 million and less. There's also a bunch of films around 300K, 400K, real indie films, not what, some studios consider an indie film when it's like 20 million. I don't consider that an indie film anymore. So I think the big thing that I've always noticed is that there is a lack of marketing. It's very rare, and I do actually have one filmmaker or two filmmakers that do spend a lot of time on marketing, and they're really good at it, and they do really well. But most filmmakers do not spend really any effort on marketing, and it's so important. And I think when we talk about companies that are successful and doing consistently well, like A24, and everyone that follows me, knows that I love A24. I think I don't love all their films, but I love a lot of their films. Like Past Lives was definitely one of my favorite films of the year at the time. But what I really love about them, regardless of the genre or the type of film, is that they're amazing at the marketing. And I think they do such a good job with that. Honestly, a much better job than almost any company out there. Maybe the other one that does really well is Neon. They do really well as well lately. Maybe Mubi starting to with the marketing. But I'd say A24 still the leader in marketing. And I think if you're an indie filmmaker, you don't have these budgets that they do. But don't forget, when they started as a distribution company. But not only that, their first films, the films that they made, were not super high budget. They were true indie films. Like you had $1 million, $2 million films that they would regularly make. And they still managed to get that in the public eye. And they didn't have a ton of marketing spend at the time. Now they do. They have VC fund that gave them a bunch of money. So it's very different now. I think as an indie filmmaker, what you can take away from this is you can look at some of these things and figure out how to do it at a smaller scale. If you even think of one of their more successful marketing campaigns that was kind of guerrilla style, was the one that they did early on in their career, which was the Ex Machina. So Ex Machina was an amazing marketing campaign, and one of their biggest successes was pretty organic. It was when they had the robot of Ex Machina basically have a Tinder profile, and because they did that, they got picked up in a lot of earned media, so media that they didn't necessarily pay for, that picked it up, that thought it was so innovative, so creative, so funny, whatever. And they got a bunch of free PR from that. I'm not saying to go create a Tinder profile, but what I am saying is that you can learn and study the things that have worked, what has not worked, and kind of think about, how does this apply to my film? How can I do this at a smaller level? You know what I mean? There are ways to do that. How can I do this at kind of a guerrilla, no cost type of way? Because if we're going to be honest, the main problem that we're always talking about with marketing, and filmmakers always say, is, I don't have the money for it. Okay, even if you have zero money, you can do things like this. I think it's really up to filmmakers to figure out, okay, how can we be more creative with our marketing? And they can. And I think filmmakers are in a really good position in the sense that they're super creative in general. And if they put their mind to the marketing, they're going to be amazing at the marketing. And they could do way better than some of these companies. And I always talk about that, but you don't see a lot of it. So what I would encourage filmmakers to do is really study these companies like A24, Neon, see what they're doing, and see what you can borrow, what you can steal from them basically, and be like, okay, I see this, I'm just going to make a slight tweak to make it fit my film and do the same thing. Because you already know this stuff works. So find campaigns that work and just tweak them. You don't always have to reinvent the whole wheel. You can just make slight adjustments and it's been successful. So I think that would be one of the biggest things that I would recommend to all indie filmmakers, is study these companies that do well, these movies that do well with marketing, and apply it to your own film. You can do that. And start thinking of yourself as a marketer as well, but start seeing it as part of your filmmaking. It's a creative endeavor, marketing. So if you see it as this is just another part of the production, then you'll see it as essential, and you'll spend the necessary time, you'll plan for it, and it'll just be way better. You'll have a much higher chance of making your investment back, making a profit, even career-wise, just like getting in front of more eyes, that only helps you. So that would be my biggest recommendation. Really start studying these people that have done really good campaigns, that have done good marketing campaigns for their films, and take what you can and apply it to your own film. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next week.